I'm joined by Yves here at Focus Interactive. We're talking a little bit Warhammer.
Yes.
What are you showing here?
Okay, today we are showing Mordheim, City of the Damned, which is an adaptation actually of a famous Warhammer Games Workshop tabletop game called Mordheim. It's an adaptation, but at the same time we add a lot of our own little twist into it. So it's a turn-based tactical RPG set in the Warhammer fantasy world.
What was the interest? Why did you guys decide to develop this?
Okay, first of all, we were hardcore fan of the tabletop game. We just loved that game back in the days. So it was a dream come true for us to work on that IP, and we are really into it. We have people like huge champions of the universe, they know everything about Warhammer Fantasy, and especially Mordheim and everything that's happening in Mordheim, which is a very, very specific location in the Warhammer world. So it's like a medieval Chernobyl, basically. It's oozing with chaotic forces in there. So very dangerous place, very fun place to work with as to build a video game on.
Okay. Now, with an adaptation of a series like Warhammer, especially a specific one like this, is it slightly easier because the design work for the creatures and characters is pretty much there already? I mean, does that save you some time at the start of the project because you know what you're working with already?
Yeah, I can say it's like a double-edged sword, basically, because first of all, yes, you have a base, a good base, but the thing is, you try to iterate on top of that. You want to add something new. You want to translate it to a video game medium. Sometimes a tabletop game is not meant to be played exactly as it is on a video game mode, I can say. So there's a lot of hard work. So in a way, you will get influenced by some game mechanics, but in the end, you need to analyze everything and make it fit so it's really fast-paced, dynamic, and things like that. So we had to change a lot of game mechanics from the original tabletop, and we've been talking a lot with Games Workshop, and it's for the best.
I was going to say, yeah, that process, that iteration process of working out what does work, what doesn't work, because you're not just making a tabletop game virtual, you're making a brand new game that has particular themes. So where do you draw the line and where do you decide what stays and what goes?
Okay, basically it's all about flow. I think the game needs to feel right. So everything regarding the art direction, everything regarding the actual world, the Mordheim city, we kept, it's really faithful to the tabletop game. What we changed is basically the flow of the game, like I said. The tabletop game, you play your warband, all your units at once, and then the other player play their units at once. What we did, we put it in action, an initiative ladder. So my unit has some alertness statistics that can increase their position in an initiative ladder. So basically, I'm going to play, for instance, 2 of my warriors, then you will play 1, then I'm going to play 1. So it's a lot more fast-paced and makes the game more dynamic.
Now, the genre itself, I mean, there's been so many games that have been in this genre. How do you guys go about, obviously the Warhammer's one thing, that makes it distinct in one way, but how do you guys go about keeping your game distinct enough from the competition to say, look, we have particular things that you love of the genre, but here's our unique sell to it?
Yeah. Well, first of all, Mordheim is super hardcore. Like XCOM was hardcore in some bit in Iron Man mode, for instance, and things like that. But in Mordheim, it's always hardcore. So what is really distinctive is that your unit, when they get injured in combat, when they get knocked down, at the end of combat, you will know the result. So you can lose a leg, you can lose an arm, lose an eye. Everything is permanent. And you can even die, so your unit can die. So you have a lot of strategy that involves thinking really thoroughly of your moves and stuff like that. So it's really the hardcore aspect of Mordheim, I think, that will really get player into it. And this is in campaign, in single player, and as well as in multiplayer. And it gets really hardcore in a way that you knock down an opponent, you saw that he had like a super cool sword, you steal it, and you keep it for yourself. So there's a lot of things like that that really makes us different.
I'm talking about particular character types, classes, races in the Warhammer universe. We all know them, but what defines them in this game for you?
Okay, in Mordheim, there are very specific type of warbands that you don't find anywhere else in the Warhammer Fantasy world. The first one is the Sisters of Sigmar, an all-female warband. They are warrior priestess, so and they live in Mordheim, actually, on a rock that doesn't get affected. It's high enough that it doesn't get affected by the fog, the chaotic fog. The other warband is the Possessed, the Cult of the Possessed. They are living in Mordheim. They are influenced by chaos, and they like getting mutations and stuff like that. So they live really comfortably with that. So these are the two very unique warbands to the Warhammer tabletop game. The other ones are the Skaven, which fan favorites for a long time, and human mercenaries from Rakeland, which are also very popular. And we plan to add more warbands. We plan to go and check with the community, get feedbacks from the fans on what could make Mordheim the best game it can be.
Saying about that, in today's world, that feedback prior to launch, even that feedback directly after launch, seems essential now, given the cost of production and stuff like that keeps escalating. I mean, how do you guys approach that in the mind that you will get feedback and people are very vocal about what they want to see? Where do you decide, there's the line, we agree with it, but we want to do this?
Actually, it's just about communication and be clear about what you want to do and what you actually can do. So basically, if we say, well, we're going to produce more warbands as DLCs, for instance, or if we launch as early access and we want some feedbacks on some warbands, we get in constant communication with the community and we draw the line and we tell them, okay, we have budget to do that, and that's what we'll do. That's it, that's all. And they understand that the community wants to get involved, but it's good that they know the limits that we have. And we're a small studio at Rogue Factor in Montreal. We're 20 guys doing that game, so really hardcore people, really experienced people, but we have our limits too. So the importance of the feedbacks, I think it's more on aiming where we'll shoot, and in the end, we'll go in that direction.
Okay, sort of wrapping up then, where can people play this? When can they play it? How can they play it?
Okay, first of all, it's going to be available on Steam, so PC. We're aiming at an early access later this year. And we're also looking at possible PS4 port and Xbox One port. This is in discussion, but for now, Steam PC is where the action's going to be. And let the future tell us the other platforms later on.
Yves, I think it's about time we go and get ourselves a cold drink. Thank you very much indeed for talking to us.
My pleasure.